State Representative Hay from my neck o' the woods, Thomas Carmody, is here. Hey, Mr. Thomas, how are you today?
I'm fine, Robert. Good morning. How are you and Erin doing?
Good. So give us an update on well, first of all, because there's a few people that may not know the particulars of the bill you have introduced that folks are saying is an attempt to save Confederate monuments across the state. You're saying any historical monument, start from jump, tell us what it is, and give us the status.
Would actually handle those monuments to the United States military and their veterans that are on public property. And the bill would basically say that they are on public property where they are and can be maintained by whatever governmental authority has jurisdiction over them where they presently sit. However, if the elected authority of that governmental entity feels like that monument is offensive or that they hate it, then they can go ahead and put the proposition before the people to say, here's what we would like to do. We would like to remove this from public view and place it here. Well, if you think about it, every time I go to vote, I always do it thinking that I am honoring all the veterans that actually made it possible to give me that franchise to do that and the sacrifices that those people made. And this would be literally putting it in the will of the people if they felt like that there was a monument that United States military that they found offensive to move it, then they could do so by a vote at the ballot. It will be considered today on the House floor, and I was spoken to by a member about possibly amending the bill so that that ballot, if it were to be called, would be on the next regularly scheduled election and would not be a special called election that would then cause the citizens in that jurisdiction to have to bear the cost of that election.
Now, excuse me, Thomas, you made an interesting point. You said for U.S. military veterans that would honor U.S. military veterans. Our soldiers who were in the Confederate States of America Army, are they considered military veterans by the U.S. government?
They are, and actually Congress in the late 50s had acknowledged that the combatants on both sides of that particular conflict were to be considered as, and at that point there were actually pensions paid by the U.S. government. Before that, the states had paid Confederate veterans pensions, but at that point Congress recognized that it was a unification, that we were all Americans.
What would this bill impact have on the monument at the Caddo Courthouse? I know there's a debate about the property and who owns the property.
There's no debate on that issue, but I've explained to many people in 1903 the Caddo Parish Police Jury not only acknowledged that they were providing a plot of land on the courthouse square to place the monument that the United Daughters of the Confederacy had said that they were raising funds for. They, even in those minutes, you see that there was a motion made and carried unanimously by the police jury to allocate monies to help finish the project. So that is not really the one that I'm concerned about.
Because this is not public land. That land where that monument is, it belongs to the Daughters of the Confederacy.
Correct. But let's talk about every Confederate soldier on the corner of courthouses in 64 parishes. Well, let's just say that parish decides that they find that offensive. Well, then that parish authority could call an election to say that we would like to relocate this particular monument and put it to the people. If the people vote to do it, that's the will of the people. The concern that I have is it seems like it's a regime change can, with the whim of a few votes, change the public environment in which we live and the history which our story's told in. Think about how long human beings have been standing up stones and scratching out stories in it to be remembered because those people were there. And somebody felt like, by God, their effort into what they were doing should be acknowledged and remembered.
Now, Thomas, this is a pretty hot potato topic, and it's to be blunt, the Confederate monuments anywhere are certainly in this day and age not politically correct. What are you finding among your peers in the legislature? Is this something they want to tackle, that they want to deal with, or do they just wish you would go away?
They wish the issue would have never been brought up. Think about it. I'm now 56 years old, and really never in my lifetime did you see landmarks in a community just taken down at the whim of an administration. I served under a home rule charter. I completely understand when people say, don't you just hate it when Baton Rouge tells a local authority what they can and cannot do? Yes, except that this is the right thing to do, and that is what the people that I've spoken with in the legislature had said, Thomas, if we don't pass it, what is next?
Got heated in committee. You expect it to be heated on the House floor?
The subject is one that brings up people's emotions, which I've explained to everybody. I certainly understand that. But if you tell me that this is a tough vote and that you're going to bleed on it, that is a very poorly chosen adjective, because these monuments, they commemorate actual blood and sacrifice. And so for those persons that cannot vote with it, I understand the political process and respect the fact that they have one vote and have to cast it the way they want to do it. But my thought is, I care. I know a lot of the people that I work with care, and I know I've heard from a lot of citizens of not only Louisiana but all the United States that seem to care about this, because it does look to be a destructive agenda. We could stop the hate and have a succession of hostilities and try to aspire to peace, which is what I thought all of us were supposed to be doing to be civil.